Hello. Today's episode number 104 of the Professor Slots podcast discusses more on earning complimentary gifts. Plus, in this episode, I'll be covering the current state of slot machine casino gambling in the great U.S. state of Tennessee. Thank you for joining me for the Professor Slots podcast show. I'm John Friedel, and this is the podcast about slot machine casino gambling. It is where I provide knowledge, insights, and tools for helping you improve your slot machine gambling performance. In case you missed it, on my last episode, I went over progressive slot machines and more from my weekly live Q&A session on YouTube. Further, I reviewed South Dakota slot machine casino gambling in 2020. I hope you enjoyed listening to my last episode as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Remember to visit professorslots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Here's the audio recording of my latest live Q&A session. Hello, slots enthusiasts. It's great to hang out with you again for another Professor Slots podcast episode and live stream. Today, we're going to be diving into earning complimentary gifts and more. That's coming up. My name is John Friedel. Welcome to Professor Slots, a channel that's all about mastering casino slots so you can win your way to success. If you've ever walked into a casino, looked around, and wondered what's going on with slots and more, I can help. Thanks again for joining us today, whether you are listening on the podcast, watching this video later, or here with us on the live stream at noon Eastern Time each Saturday. I'm glad that you're all here. A special welcome to those people listening in India now that I've been able to set up a podcast destination via Ghana. So welcome to the show. But first, if you're with us during the live stream, make sure to say hello to everyone in the live chat. Let us know where you're at and where you play slots. I'll check in with the live chat in a little bit. And as always, be sure to ask your slots-related questions. Also, subscribe so we can keep growing our community of slots enthusiasts. I appreciate the feedback from the live stream about the volume being good. I don't know if I'll ever stop worrying about that. Today's topic covers extra content from the videos I've published this week. The big one, of course, is from Thursday. It's the third in my series of Winning Slots Advantages, Earning Complimentary Gifts. But I also have a bit to add on my other 2 videos from Sunday on getting to know your legal gaming classifications and Tuesday's Utah slot machine casino gambling. Let's get those out of the way first. I promise they shouldn't take more than a few minutes. We're at the end of my second week of publishing a full set of weekly videos. On Sundays with a random slots topic, Tuesdays with a state-by-state video, Thursdays with its series of videos, at the moment working my way through my winning slot strategies, and Saturdays with this live stream. This weekly schedule started the first week of August. So Sunday, a week ago, 2 weeks ago tomorrow. So yes, I just finished my second full week. And of course, the live stream has been every Saturday for the last 9 months or so. All these additional weekly posts to YouTube has caused my channel to, explode. The rate at which I'm getting views, watch time, and subscribers have all doubled, at least in the last 2 weeks. Subscribers have increased. The rate has increased by a factor of 4, for instance. Plus, visits to my website, professorslots.com, has increased by a factor of 3, and podcast views are off the hook. Do people still say that? Anyway, what I'm trying to say is thank you. Thank you for spreading the word about my work to support slots enthusiasts everywhere. We're moving forward, which is the other thing. I don't think we'll have a moderator today. I think Paula has something that she needs to do, but maybe she'll be able to join us later. So I'll have to keep an eye on the live chat, make sure we don't have interesting people show up So the other thing is that we are moving forward. As I have mentioned before, my personal view is change is the only constant, and growth is change. You can expect this to continue each week, bit by bit. To help you weather these changes with ease, I'll give these updates on what's going on every once in a while. This week's gradual change it would be more impactful for those people who can't make it today. It kind of accumulates every week, but this week's gradual change is adding more variety to this live stream, just because I'm posting to YouTube more often. I'm probably posting as much as I ever will. Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and then Saturdays with the live stream. That's kind of the YouTube balance that people suggest. There'll be some other videos occasionally, but not as a usual thing. So I have an entourage. Somebody said something in the live chat about my having an entourage, and we're all going to England. Did Larry? Did anybody tell you that we're coming to you? Anyway, welcome, Larry. I'll get caught up in the live chat in a little bit, just keeping an eye on it. So Sunday's video on gaming classifications stands for itself. It's a short video on a very specific topic. It defines what types or classifications exist, from playing in an open field to Las Vegas table games. Again, the video stands by itself, but I put it out there because those classifications are the only gambling terms accepted nationwide. Everything else we use to describe gambling are based on state law, not federal law. For example, I mean, it may not seem like this is a big deal, but it is a big deal. For example, what is poker? All right, that's a pretty fundamental question. Is it a game of skill or a game of chance? I'm not asking your opinion. I'm asking what your state law says about it. All right, is it gambling? The Nebraska state legislature says it's not gambling because you know what? Gambling is illegal in Nebraska. Yet they have legal gaming. So, I'm very serious about this. All gambling is illegal in Nebraska, but you can enjoy card games at 21 legal gaming centers spread throughout Nebraska because, it's not gambling. It's the definition of the term. I don't think any of us are lawyers, but this stuff, it may or not seem to be important to you, but it is. It's likely to be in some way. If you don't live, this Nebraska thing isn't important unless you live in Nebraska or visit Nebraska or gamble in Nebraska. But your state might have something like this too. For example, a few years ago, the Illinois state legislature said that truck stops could install a few gaming machines. All you had to do was file an application to get a gaming license, approval from your local municipality, and it comes back signed, and there you go. So truck stops could install a few gaming machines, but they didn't define what a truck stop was. All right, they neglected to define the term exactly. So thousands of corner bars applied for a gaming license with the state to get a few gaming machines because, well, more than a few trucks stopped there, right? And this is not uncommon. This happened to Louisiana as well. So you'll find all kinds of games in bars and taverns in some states because the law was trying to, in Louisiana and in Illinois specifically, and other problems that happened because of this, just a lack of definition. So Illinois, boy, the poor gaming commission in Illinois, can you imagine receiving 2,000, gambling license requests? It took them like 2 years to process all of them. That poor clerk, whoever it was. So yes, I made a video on 3 classifications that are federal definitions, which are constant no matter where you are in the U.S. It's the only 3. If you want to be an advantage slots player, definitions matter. I might make sure the live stream is going okay. All right. My Tuesday state-by-state video is about Utah. It's a short video. There's really not a lot to say. Very short. Why? Because there's not much going on in Utah regarding slots. But that's what's interesting. I said there's not much. What do you mean there's anything? They prohibit all gambling. Yet quite a few corner convenience stores and highway gas stations have a few illegal gaming machines. Our Utah group on Facebook, just uploaded photos so we could take a look at them. How is this possible? Easy, because gambling is illegal. That's the reason. They have no gaming commission to regulate gaming. That means they don't partner. They can't partner. There is no one to partner with the state police to enforce illegal gaming activities. I'm no lawyer, but I believe that's a loophole. Does this matter to you, this gaming option in Utah? Maybe, maybe not. Several of you have asked about your state's illegal gaming machines. What is it? Amusement machines, sweepstakes machines. They can be slots, but they can also be poker. They can be this and that and the other thing. What's your state having to go through? Ohio 7 years ago had sweepstakes machines and they had to crack down, but they have a gaming commission to be able to do that. So I didn't talk about any of this in the Utah. I mean, very, very just touched on it very briefly in Utah. I just said that they had illegal gaming machines. But, what about your state? Do you have illegal gaming machines? I get that question. Nobody is out there offering advertising on come to my gas station because I have illegal gaming machines, right? The state police have access to the internet too, to find them, when I'm asked, you just kind of have to walk into a gas station and see in Utah. So it's hard for me to report on them from a distance. So I'll never be very, clear and concise with illegal gaming machines in the United States because how would I know? They don't advertise. A lot more traveling, maybe. I hope to do some of that. I hope to visit Utah at some point when I'm traveling a lot more again and see what these look like. And Wyoming has a lot of them and other states have a lot of them. And just, drive around. That's what you have to do, drive around and talk and see. I was talking to a business. I'm being reached out to by other businesses about, people who do monitors. People who do machines, a professional business looking to provide monitors for slot machines, but not the big companies, just these little mom and pop shops. So gas stations need these things, and the companies that distribute them are small companies, not the, Scientific Games that I've talked about and the International Games Technology that I've talked about, the primary businesses in the world that provide slot machines and lotteries and other services. Paul is here. Excellent. Better late than never. Yes, Paul, it's Saturday. Inside joke. We have these things going on. I provide an article, video, podcast segment on every state, and I do that every week. And I get through all of them in about 13 months, and because I include the territories, so that's 56 in a series. Getting close to the third time through. Each time I try to expand it and grow on it and get to know the state a little bit better, and it's been a real education. But I'm a little bit surprised how much people are interested in this. I'm seeing, I have stats on my website, and people are coming. apparently popular with truck drivers. Hey, if you're out there driving a truck and you're listening to the podcast and you're driving a truck across the country, hey, great to have you on listening on the show. I appreciate your support. And so we have these people who go from state to state to state as part of what they do, part of their living. And they wonder, okay, so I'm in Alabama. What might I expect? And my article and my video and my podcast are, a resource. So as I grow, I'm getting more and more people that way. I didn't really consider myself to be, how do I put it? A tourism site. Right? I didn't really expect to be sort of a travel guide, but that seems to be part of what I provide for those of you who need that. So anyway, yep, good. The live chat is in hand. So let's switch over to today's big topic. You're probably all waiting for. Let's talk about earning. Let's talk about more on earning complimentary gifts, my winning slot strategy number 3. As always, the video stands on its own. It's not my intention to spoil it for you, not at all. But I had to do a lot of trimming to get the video down to a succinct video lasting less than 9 minutes. See, I have this, book where it's a chapter, pretty much a section of a chapter. And, there's an article that's a long article that kind of wanders on different topics because as time goes by, I'm finding out how very important your time is and how much I kind of need to focus better and better. So I am. But the video, the only thing that works on YouTube is to have something that's succinct and more succinct than you might believe. So I got this video down to less than 9 minutes. And as they say in Hollywood, the city in California, not the casino chain, thank you very much, I left a lot of content on the cutting room floor. First off, it's not a video on players' club cards. Yes, you need such a membership card to earn complimentary gifts, or comps as we call them. We've talked about cards in the past, and we still have lots more to discuss some other time because it's a rather big topic. Some of this other stuff we haven't discussed yet, but eventually will, includes winning strategy approaches that aren't discussed in this video. For instance, if you and your spouse, just a few things that I didn't talk about in the video, if that are worth mentioning here, if you and your spouse are both slots enthusiasts, then it's quite okay with the casino if you each use the same player's club card. It's one membership under one of your names, but you just get two cards printed out so you can each earn club points on the same account. Then maybe you'll get a cruise. Maybe you'll get to the tier where you're given the cruise, which is, +1. And, there you go. You can choose to take this approach particularly if it's tough, and it's always tough to get to like top tier or second to top tier. This is a way, if you happen to both be a slots enthusiast, that you can, essentially double your points earned. It's very common. Again, not something I mentioned in the video, but that's part of a different topic. I have to split this stuff up, particularly these big topics, in a way that kind of makes sense. And I put this somewhere else. So I have a article, which is currently podcast episode number 16, if you're on the podcast. So I have an article called 7 Advantages of Players Clubs for Playing Slots. And that's where I decided to put that. There were winning strategies, but it's more logistics. It's more how-to maybe, and not exactly about earning points. It would be the same points. It's just a way to sort of you and your spouse could take the points you would have earned and just sort of combine them. So it's not about more points. I hope this makes sense. So I split that off. How do you, in engineering, we talk about eating an elephant. We don't actually eat elephants. We talk about big projects And how do you work on a big project? It's like eating an elephant is what we say. First, you eat this portion. You work on the ears, you work on the tail, you work on the trunk, you work on one leg, another leg. So you break it up and you work on each one. So Players Club cards is a huge area. I hadn't really realized that. I suppose if I had early on, I would have made an entire chapter on Players Club cards, and just would have been a long chapter on all these different sections of the stuff that I've broken up here. So some of the stuff people expected in this Winning Strategy 3, I got a couple of comments, and they were like, well, what about this and what about that? Those things are common. Well, you'll find those things, and I'll talk about a few of those things here, in 7 Advantages of Players Clubs for Playing Slots. This is I'll put a link in the description for this video. I already have. And you'll find this in the podcast show notes later if you're listening on the podcast. So you can go to the show notes there. That'll, of course, be out tomorrow. And as usual, the day after the live stream. And so, you can wait, because I've got a schedule, editorial calendar, they call it. And I have a schedule for that article to make a video, and it's about the end of August. So you can wait a while for me to make the video about it, which is, again, scheduled for the end of August. For you, yes, you listening on the podcast, this is, a show number, let's see, it'll be in the show notes for show number 104, which is tomorrow. But it's also episode number 16. The topic I was talking about earlier, the legal gaming definitions, classifications, are episode number 15, podcast episode number 15. You'll find those things there. But something else perhaps worth mentioning, which wasn't because I'll mention it later, is earning points playing video poker. Lots of people play video poker, including slots enthusiasts. So have another article. I want to try to stay clear here, but there's, like I said, it's a big topic. There is another article about video poker machines, are they slot machines? Can you use the same winning strategies on video poker machines as you would on slot machines? And my answer basically is, But one of the difficulties is sharing a player's, let's see. So sharing a player's club card with a spouse can double your earned points. You're not really doubling so much as you're putting it all into one bucket instead of 2 buckets. So it ends up being that you have twice as many points on one card. But playing video poker can have your points or more, depending on the club. Thanks, Chuck, for reminding me of this. Chuck's in the live stream. So why is this? Because typically the points earned for every dollar spent playing video poker is half of the points you would have earned if you'd spent that dollar playing slots. This isn't about winning. These are the club rules you can expect when playing these 2 types of electronic gaming machines. The rules are, and sometimes it's less than half, which can make it twice as hard to get to top tier or more. So playing with your spouse on a slot machine makes it twice as easy, half as hard, right? While playing video poker just makes it extremely difficult because it's hard to. The rate of earning points for the same amount of money is just half or more. So you can see a lot of poker players who are doing pretty well, but they aren't high tier, right? Not for lack of trying. Again, this is not about winning. This is about 2 types of electronic gaming machines and casino club rules, and it's common. Something else that's common, but a little hard to pin down, is special elements to these club programs. For instance, are you a veteran? Well, first, thank you for your service. Second, tell them that at the Players Club counter. Every club is different, but a respect for veterans is common. But how they might show that respect can vary. Find out what your casino's club does. Finally, another thing worth mentioning briefly is that some casinos don't have a players club. It's true. It's economics. If it's, say, a tribal casino where the tribe only has that one casino, it may be too expensive to have a club. It's an odd thing about players clubs you should be aware of. They're cheaper for the casino operator to run when they have more members. So they can be too expensive for a lot of casinos. Those things are not what this week's video is about, but they are related. So I wanted to share these things. As I've said in past live streams when talking about whether using a player's club card hurts your odds, there sure is a lot to talk about on this large topic. But don't worry, over a bunch of videos and live streams, many in the future and some in the past, we'll get to all of it. Let's check in with the live stream to briefly say hello. Right. So just sort of flipping through, we had a little pre-show, not recorded. We just sort of chatted to each other in the live stream, as we sometimes do. I've tried to remove some of the meet and greet from the actual recording. But we have Dino from Las Vegas, and he's telling us about some of the worries about casinos losing money and in big trouble. We expressed our sympathy, and others mentioned that they'd be planning on traveling there in October, support the industry. But nevertheless, it is an awkward situation, tough time. We had weeks, months of live streams where we talked about, all the casinos are closing. What's that all about? Then all the casinos were closed, and then they all, for a couple, a month, 5 shows, something like that. And then they started opening, and we talked about what's open. 1's open, 2's open. I haven't been. What's the conditions like, for being safe, and what's the conditions like for gambling and all of that. What might this do, and what might that do? And we haven't really talked about these things in a month. It's middle of August, right? August 15th, 2020, for those of you in the future. And it's, we are all still concerned. We are all still, wondering if the casinos are going to be all right. One of the things I suppose we could do is, does somebody want to, maybe in the live chat, somebody wants to go to professorslots.com/tracker, and that'll take you to the American Gaming Association's casinos, and how many are still shown as closed, because at this point they may not reopen, right? If they're going to open, they probably opened. And I'm kind of curious, don't want to necessarily mess up the feed, but does anybody want to quickly jump to that easy to remember link and give me a number? And the odds are, it's a gambling, we have a gambling show where we talk about the odds are, that those might be the ones that don't reopen. Kind of interested in what that number would be, but I don't want to, I got too many balls in the air here with the live stream going on, juggling. A lot of people are definitely, I see all this activity. People are going to the casinos, right? But there are people who are not going to casinos. Yet those people are like, I want to go to a casino, I just don't feel it's time yet. We have a member in the live stream, Dave and Lois, actually, who are in Canada. And then we have Larry in the UK, and we have other people located in other places, but who don't speak up as much. The Canadian border is closed. and their casinos are closed, or both, and one after the other needs to happen before people who are in Canada and like to drive a few miles to the U.S. and visit one of the states on the border and go to a casino, and may have been doing that for decades, and they can't. So we have ongoing things, which I have not been covering since the worst of it. But we do still think about that. And it is a concern. Right. So, yeah, pent up excitement is the way Joe expressed it. Dino is in Las Vegas. He says not all casinos in Vegas are checking temperatures. South Point and Silverton casinos, no checks. Well, talk about slots and gambling and state law and every state being different. I think you see that you see that, right? A lot of this stuff that we're seeing about protections is what the state does. What the state recommends. They would go to anyway. It's all flow down and do you required to wear a mask? Do you not required to wear a mask? Anyway, South Point and Silverton Casino, no checks. Thanks, Dino. Appreciate that. Larry from UK. Yes, storms, right? We're having storms throughout the Midwest. I hope people are doing okay. Have you heard of Anytime Gambling? This is the letter N, the letter E, time gambling. And I think it's .net. It might be .com, but I think it's .net. And let me quickly check. I invited Robin Aubin. He is the person who runs NE Time Gambling, and he knows a lot about the East Coast gambling. And he's not just a slots guy. In fact, he doesn't do that as much as a lot of other things, but he does actually follow slots more than most. And he's hit by a hurricane. We had a hurricane in the Midwest. It's 2020, right? You sure it wasn't Godzilla? We all know this. It looks like the UK is running into some storms and lots of power outages. I sympathize. So Dino says for Las Vegas casinos, masks are mandatory in every casino except at the food court. And I read somewhere that the buffets were open, and personal interest. I just love buffets. And when I started thinking about all this going, would we ever have buffets again? Oh no, but perhaps not everybody feels how I feel about buffets. So let me just check to see if we've got, I think it's important to sort of touch the pulse of what's going on out there. I think there's value in having these conversations. So back and forth. Frankie G from the Bronx checking in. Hello, welcome. Michael is here. Michael in Denver is thinking about the life in Black Hawk, but there's too much forest fire smoke to go play. Man, boots on the ground all over the country. Paula joined. Catherine is here from Portland, Oregon. Let's see. Shannon's hoping for a cruise. Hoping to get a cruise, but won't be able to use it. Wow. Let's see. Larry says can't travel to U.S. from UK yet. There's a lot of quarantine both ways, right? Thank you, Dino. Personal interest. He was kind enough to share that buffets are open, and Aris is here, Right. So I think we're caught up on the live stream. If you have questions, go ahead and ask. I'm kind of speeding through the material that I wanted to cover, but let's get back to what else was left out. Frank says, actually, Dino says I'm going to the Wynn buffet this month. Oh man, that's got to be good. Frank, I haven't had lunch yet. Come on. Frank from Atlantic City Casino says Atlantic City casinos must wear masks and no eating or drinking in any casinos, only in your room or outside dining. Right? Anything else would just worry me. We had a brief conversation before the show started about I'm kind of concerned about going to a casino right now. And I haven't, I've hinted at it, but I haven't expressed it. Absolutely. This is a bad time to get sick. As I shared a little, 2 weeks ago, I was laid off, just over, who's counting 17 days, and almost 18, a few hours short. But in any case, right. So, not a good time to get sick. And I support that. But if you want to go to the casino, it's a personal choice and you can be careful. And I believe in masks and wiping your hands and all the things that you can do. It's not funny. It's not funny to say I'm growing my audience and I need every one of you. It's not funny, but I need every one of you. Please be safe. Dave's here. Dave Odom. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that. Dave O. Is from Salem, Oregon. He's heading to the Alani Casino in a few minutes. Well, thanks for stopping by, Dave. Catch us back later. It's honestly hugely funny that we've got like 3 or 4 people who are normally here who are like, you taught me a lot and I just want to head on over to the casino. Sorry, I'm not going to make it. Frank at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut need to mask, but can eat inside at half capacity. Yep. Good. Glad to see people are being safe. All right. So let's get back to what else was left out of Thursday's video on my winning slots strategy number 3 about earning and maximizing comps. I'll just, have a few of these for you. The complimentary cruise from a casino is great. These are again things I didn't mention. The complimentary cruise from a casino is great if you're single. You may never go on a cruise by yourself unless it's a casino comp. Why? Because cruise lines want double occupancy. If you go alone, then you still pay, spelling error, you still pay for a second person even if you didn't bring one. But that's not the case with the cruise comped by the casino. Nice little feature, right? I thought so on my first cruise. I went to Alaska, and stayed 3 days in Seattle beforehand, made 2 weeks of it, basically, or a week and a half. I was living in Ohio at the time. I was still there, still in Ohio. And I wanted to get used to going that far across the country, kind of in the direction where you get, maybe you don't get jet lag, but nevertheless, I wanted to get like comfortable. So I never been to Seattle before. So I spent 3 days, I was at the Seahawks, saw a game. There was art fairs. I guess they have quite a few of those. Took the amphibious boat, the amphibious truck. It's both a boat and a road vehicle, and toured Seattle with it. And none of this was because of wasn't part of the cruise experience, but it was certainly something that gambling paid for, and I was there to get on a cruise, which was a free cruise. So then I toured up Alaska, and I just won $14,000. Was it? That was before Las Vegas. I had to check my records, but I won, $10,000. I had money, and so I was like, what's the best comps out there? And I learned all about comps, and this is just part of what I'm trying to explain about this video on earning complimentary gifts is this stuff is hard. Okay. If you're new to comps, you got to figure it out. And, I could have gotten one comp that would have been like, but then you wouldn't have time to fit in another excursion, the one with the speedboat where you saw the whales, because it took the entire time that you would be available before the cruise ship had to leave. And I know it's a minor thing, but there's just so many of these little things about comps, and I'll get to some of them. So, right. If you're single, there's an option there. And we talked about double occupancy. So the second time, it's a floating hotel, and the second time you had like a day at sea, and I'm just like, you usually have a day at sea. And I was just like, I'm stuck in a hotel and I can't go for a walk, except I was walking around the cruise ship. So you get out into the water and it's kind of like quiet. So I thought, hey, next time I should bring somebody. And my sister, how do I put this? She was separating, and so she didn't have anybody, and it was that time of the year where, not to get into too much of the story, where she was available, and so took my sister to the second cruise. That's the one I wrote the book on, or at least started a big section of it. And had a lot of organizing to do of all my collected notes. That's kind of where I was at. I hadn't really started writing so much as like had to organize to start writing. And the writing actually took place in another trip to, Grand Tetons. And got a cabin. You may notice the logs on my left. So that trip did have a big impact for me. I never considered owning a log house until I was in a log cabin for a week, starting to write my book. Wrote 4,000 words, a good start, and positive experience. So these are the things that comps have given me. Some of them life-changing. And I hope that you have, the experience of earning complimentary gifts, because that's the level at which this stuff goes. So I took my sister I said, where do you want to go? I went to Alaska, got that down my bucket list. Now it's off my bucket list. Where do you want to go? Alaska again? And she's like, no, I want to go to the Western Caribbean. No. Eastern Caribbean. And I'm like, oh no, it's going to be hot. And she's like, yeah, it's going to be hot. And I'm like, I guess if they have air conditioning, I'll be fine. Another pet peeve. And she had a wonderful time until about Tuesday. And we got on board about noon on Sunday. And then she woke up on Tuesday and checked the weather report back in Michigan. And freak storm, 2 feet of snow. That sort of thing, all kinds of problems. So after that, she got pretty busy, using a lot of Wi-Fi at the Hard Rock in Jamaica. Anyway, was it Planet Hollywood or something? Anyway, so yeah, that's some of the things that, the life stories that came out of earning comps, top tier comps. I had a hard time getting used to it. Maybe you will too. It took me 6 weeks to get to top tier. I had found a winning slot strategy at Horseshoe Cincinnati. It's been bought twice since then, so it's gone. But that particular one is gone. It was their first year being opened, and they had a budget for all this and blah, blah, blah. I might have told you that story before. But I had a tough time, 6 weeks to 7 stars. If you know what that is. When I guess it's still called the Caesars, was Total Rewards at the time, and Caesars Rewards maybe still. With the Eldorado merger, I guess they're going to not call themselves Eldorado, but call themselves Caesars, although they have a new logo. In any case, 7 stars in 6 weeks. And I had no idea what to expect. When I started to find out, it was overwhelming. And that's another reason that I'm doing all this, not just this show, but this whole business. Nobody explained to me that comps existed or what they were. A fellow slots player saw my play, saw how it was going, and suggested I go update my card, my level 1 card, at the club counter. If Dustin hadn't said something, would I ever have done so? I was very focused on playing slots. That's why I was doing well. For those of you new to slots, it's a whole other side to being a slots enthusiast. And it's a whole other side that requires skill. And it's a waste to not be properly introduced to what comps can bring. All right. Have you ever had a personal assistant? Right. Of course not. If you get the top tier, perhaps before that, you'll effectively be getting one. A personal representative that speaks up for you at host meetings to get you your fair share of those things you are interested in. Yes, it's like that. They sit down, they talk about, okay, we've got this many restaurant stuff, we've got, football, we've got baseball, we've got this, that, the other thing, these concerts, that musical venue, this, and who wants what. We've only got a limited number, we got to divvy this stuff up. And if your host knows what you like, then he'll put you in for that. So you kind of have to know what you like. I was new to the area. I'd only been, the previous year, I'd been there just over been over to Ohio, near Cincinnati, for just over a year. So I'm just like, I guess you guys have major football teams, right? And major baseball teams. And I think there's like hockey too, right? I walked the March of Dimes walk for babies, 7-9 miles. And we kind of walked through, across the 8 bridges or something and just walked and walked and walked. And I got a chance to walk through some of the stadiums and I'm like, you get tickets? And they're like, we've got a suite. Are you kidding? And that's one of the things I didn't put into the video was that, what I put in the video, was that I'd been to the, Horseshoe Cincinnati suite at Brown Stadium where the Bengals, home of the Bengals, and don't give me how much you love or hate them, but I went back to work and I was talking to some of the guys, and they're like, that's not how football fans watch a game. I'm like, really? It seemed kind of nice. No. You've got to be able, the right way to see a football game is to be in the nosebleed section. I'm probably mixing that up with my baseball terms, but you have to remove a foot of snow from your chair before you can sit down. That is a football fan. And I'm like, not a heated room where the big glass doors will close, but you can open them to get a breeze, all the free alcohol and the gourmet food. No. And the host gets drunk with you and, we got the drunk bus and, I took one of my coworkers with me, the one who told me all this. And I said, actually, it was coming up when I was telling them this. And they're like, this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, all right, I got a +1. You want to go? And they're like, yeah. So again, my stories are to help you understand. And maybe you already know this, but maybe you don't. Maybe you're new to this. Maybe you haven't taken advantage of these earning comps. But the friend relationships. I had a little personal, but I had a coworker who was pretty high up, right? Technically, my technical boss is at the time my technical boss, right? And in engineering, they have that sort of technical side of things as well as the managerial side. And his wife also worked for the same company, and she was even bigger. All right, so she got comps from the company. The executive team would flow them down, right? And she was on that list because of her position and time and place and the way her career had gone and her skill and all of that. So she would take her husband to baseball games and particularly, and they were often, the special section and the special food and this and that and the other thing. So I thought it would be a fine idea for this coworker, this boss, this friend that I'd known for many years prior to working there. And I thought it would be a fine thing to give him a 7 stars comp to, was it PNC Bank, the baseball stadium in Cincinnati, and they were having the All-Star games, and they had built a special section where you could see the Ohio River as well as the outfield, and they were having gourmet this and all that, and it's very hard to get those tickets, and I gave them to him to take his wife. So anyway, got a promotion like a year later, but I'm sure it had nothing to do with that. I'm sure it had nothing to do with that. There's one other topic that I want to talk about, but I've seen a lot of things going by in the live stream. So let me check in back at the live stream. Let's see, where did we leave off? Yep, wearing masks. Yep, good luck, Dave. Yep. Oh, we got into a conversation about luck. Yes, Dave, thank you for mentioning that. I used your statement about, in winning strategy, is it 2? Is it 1? I think it was 1. Yeah, only win immediately. I used your 500 pull method as not towards the end of that first video on winning strategy number 1. I used that pull. Thank you so much for that. I wanted to give you credit, but I was like, Chuck, did you say that? And Chuck was like, I didn't say that. And somebody else. And so Dave, thank you for that. That's a wonderful phrase. We have the 5 pull method. Somebody likes to use a 10 pull method. This is all back in winning strategy number 1 2 weeks ago. But Dave likes the 500 pull strategy, which isn't really a strategy. So Leslie is asking RS. We talked about RS last time. I think it was last time. What is this pattern that he's referring to? Let's see. So RS says, pattern to slot machines I figured out is to play the speed of the slot machine. So RS has explained to me that he has a feeling when he plays, but I haven't gotten a clear definition for what he's feeling. One of the things that I do is all the teaching and all of the coursework has allowed me to sort of translate this pattern recognition stuff that I'm seeing to something explainable. And RS has got one of those, maybe one I know, maybe one I don't know, I'm always learning, that helps him. And so he, frankly, RS talks a lot about his winning strategy, and I believe he has one. But it's hard to sort of know what that is. If I watched him, if I was standing next to him, I watched him, I think I'd better understand it. But he's sharing more than he has before. So he will play, he says he plays China Shores. It's a fast tempo slot, plays it fast and always gets a lot of free spins. So that's his, that was something new that he plays the speed of the slot machine. So he plays at a tribal casino, and now comes the comments. Okay. RS, go Bengals. And he says he's a fan. I'm not really into sports. I think about what not to say in these live streams and on the podcast, and when I start making commentary and saying that I'm not really into sports, it's probably one of those things. I do use the analogy. I talk to a lot of people who are very much into sports, and I say, I like slot machines. And they're like, I don't really get it. And I said, you know how you know sports? You know, like football or baseball, you know all the stats. You know your teams. You know what who's going to be traded, who's not. You know, your football, you've got the draft, and you've been watching the college stuff to see what might, who's going to go where and what their agent. You have all these details, and you spend a lot of time at it. That's slots for me in science fiction and fantasy literature, but whatever. So I couldn't very well go to the casino when I was 15, so I read a lot. I really couldn't tell you if I'm a Bengals fan. I don't like crowds or smoke. Not that I have a problem with smoke at an outdoor stadium. Right. RS says he does this also. His method on Lightning Link, quick hits, hot shots, Konami slots. Those are his favorites. And that's where we differ. I don't believe that game theme has anything to do with anything. Ron, hey Ron, your taste method. If you place $1 in a slot, what is a taste? Receiving, anything. It isn't about the amount. It's that you won something, right? So just the review, 5-pull method, which could be 10, but I think a good round number could be 3. I think a good number that I like to use is 5, is you put money into a slot machine, you press the button 5 times. If you don't, if you win anything, like on the first bet, stop. All right. It doesn't matter how much it is. That's a taste. All right. The idea is to do this and consider whether that always happens. To consider whether the casino has a common business practice, a standard business practice, where they're giving you a win when you first sit down within the first few bets. And the idea from the casino's point of view is, okay, that means they're going to sit and they're going to stay and they're going to play, and they'll play what they won and they'll play what's in their wallet, right? Great idea. I say, if you see that every time you sit down, you win a little something and then you don't win something, which is what I saw. I kept playing and I saw that I didn't win for an hour. That was a waste of money, but especially a high limit machine. But I spent several $1,000s and I'm like, I'm not winning. But I had that first win. And when you think about this stuff, when you see this, you're like, every machine this happens on, that's something casinos are doing. So I'm like, how do you turn that around in the casino? You collect that first bet. All right. Now I did this on high limit machines, but it doesn't really matter if the casino's doing it. It's doing it on all slot machines, and look for it. All right. Don't be fooled by the taste. Oh, well, I won. That's a lucky machine. Maybe it is, and maybe it isn't. All you really know is you won that first taste. So maybe you should collect tastes. Move to machines that collect tastes. And, there's a secondary winning strategy that you can add to this that I try to do together, which is if it hasn't been played for a while, it's even better. And we can talk about that. I talked about it for an hour recently. So we can see that. So, hi, Paula. Hi, Joanna. My daughter's in California, RS, but again, it's not a time to travel. Let's see. Understood. Let's see. There's plenty of places I need to be, RS. It's a matter of making the most of my time. I figured, which is a good segue. I've got a couple minutes left. I wanted to let you know that I've been hard at work. Yes, I've been laid off, but my go-to thing to do, there's a job possibility in my field during the day in maybe 6 months. And I'm waiting to see how the pandemic goes for that, because I've checked everywhere else, blah, 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 blah. But I have this time frame, 6 months, a year and a half, to make the most of this. very and I wanted to let you know that I have a few products that I figured out. I've decided that I'm going to go with 2 courses, one that is self-led, where you just take the course and I'm not there. I mean, I be having videos and all this other stuff. But then there's going to be another one, which is going to be a group-based, which will be a 6-week course. So first one's going to be, self-led, and the second one's going to be instructor-led, and the second one will cost more. Then I have a couple other things having to do with consulting where, we'll see what all that pans out to be. Larry, your question is if the casino has a taste in its property, is it the same at all their properties? Well, I found that the taste approach is about 1 in 3 casinos. And I haven't been going to I don't mean the same casino chain. I mean, I've gone to the property on my little reviews that I've gone on, which I have halted, haven't had one since February. And I will go on these trips, and one of the things I'll check is to see if the whole place has tastes. And I think if you were to go to someplace like Las Vegas, that if you had found it at Horseshoe Cincinnati, I didn't. I found it at Belterra Park, which there's only one other property that they had at the time before they were bought by Board Gaming, and that was Belterra Resort in Indiana. And so, what I saw at one, I would try at another because it's more likely that they would have it. But then I get confused, right? If I found Winning Strategy 7 at Horseshoe Cincinnati. And so I'm like, well, I would probably check that Winning Strategy 7 first at any Horseshoe. That seems pretty clear. But what about other Caesars properties? And then we get into like an El Dorado properties. El Dorado is the primary operator that bought out Caesars, but they decided to name themselves Caesars. So it's like, will Caesars winning strategies apply to El Dorado, or El Dorado applies to Caesars? These are all things that still need to be figured out. A lot to learn. So that's my answer for Larry's question. Thanks everybody for the great show. Right. RS, I'm a slots enthusiast. Shirts can be bought at professorslots.com/swag, SWAG. That'll come up on my YouTube channel as soon as I get to 1,000 subscribers. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. Very much appreciated. We are out of time. Any last questions? Oh, yeah. Paula put up the list. I have every color except white. It shows the gray one, but if you click on a particular shirt, you'll see everything that is possible, and there might be 20 different colors. So knock yourself out. Yep. Okay. So I want to wish everybody a wonderful day. Watch more of my videos to improve your slots gambling performance. Have fun. Be safe. Make good choices. Take care, everybody. Bye. Remember to visit professorslots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. This is the next segment of the show on slot machine casino gambling. Here, I provide a brief overview of the current state of gambling in a U.S. state, territory, or the federal district, emphasizing by far anything of interest to slot machine casino gamblers. Up next is Tennessee's slot machine casino gambling in 2020. Here goes. Tennessee slot machine casino gambling does not exist. This state has no land-based casinos, including commercial or tribal casinos. There are no slot machines available. The minimum legal gambling age in Tennessee depends upon the gambling activity. For bingo and the lottery, it's 18. For land-based casinos, poker rooms, and pari-mutuel wagering, it is not available. Article 11, Section 5 of the 2014 Tennessee Constitution prohibits games of chance, including slot machines, roulette wheels, and more. Next up is a usually short statement about slot machine private ownership, which I have included in case you live in this U.S. state and are considering owning a slot machine. Here it is. In Tennessee, it is illegal to own a slot machine privately. Tennessee has no state gaming commission, as the state constitution prohibits games of chance. However, it does have both a state lottery commission and a charitable gaming division. The state lottery commission is the Tennessee Education Lottery, Tell. In late 2002, voters approved the Tell. Tickets began to sell in early 2004. Since then, it has raised more than $4 billion for education programs up to and including two-year college institutions. The Division of Charitable Solicitations in Gaming under the Tennessee Secretary of State is responsible for enforcing the Tennessee Nonprofit Gaming Law. This law allows eligible organizations to hold a single annual Games of Chance fundraising event. However, approval to hold such an event requires a 2/3 vote of approval by the General Assembly. In this section, I'll discuss Tennessee gambling establishments. There are no commercial casinos in Tennessee. There are no tribal casinos in Tennessee. Further, Tennessee has no federally recognized American Indian tribes. As an alternative to enjoying Tennessee slot machine casino gambling, consider exploring casino options in a nearby state. Bordering Tennessee is, to the north, Kentucky and Virginia. To the east, North Carolina. To the south, Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi. And to the west, Arkansas and Missouri. To visit any of my articles on these U.S. states, simply visit ProfessorSlots.com, followed by its two-letter postal designation. For example, my Kentucky Slots article is available at ProfessorSlots.com/KY. Are you interested in sharing and learning with other slots enthusiasts in Tennessee? If so, join our Tennessee Slots community on Facebook at ProfessorSlots.com/FBTN. All you'll need is a Facebook profile to join this private Facebook group freely. There, you'll be able to privately share your slots experiences as well as chat with players about slots gambling in or near Tennessee. Again, use this convenient link I've created to go directly to our group on Facebook, ProfessorSlots.com/FBTN. Join us. Neither theoretical payout limits nor return statistics are available for Tennessee. In summary, Tennessee slot machine casino gambling does not exist. It has no casinos nor are any slot machines available. Likewise, there are no tribal casinos. Charitable fundraising events exist with approval with the Tennessee General Assembly. It also has a state lottery. Over the last year, there has been little to no change to the slots gaming industry in Tennessee. Remember to visit ProfessorSlots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Part 1 of the next episode of the Professor Slots podcast will include a live-streamed Q&A session on YouTube. Remember, my weekly Q&A session on YouTube is on Saturdays from noon until 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Bring whatever slots questions you have, and I'll do my best to answer them. An easy-to-remember link to my YouTube channel is youtube.com/ProfessorSlots. Feel free to stop by anytime during my hour-long live Q&A session. Part 2 of the next episode of the Professor Slots podcast is another brief overview of the current state of gambling in a U.S. state, territory, or the federal district. Next time, I'll be talking to you about the great U.S. state of Vermont. That's the end of another great episode of the Professor Slots podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Show notes for this episode are on my website at ProfessorSlots.com/episode 104. I plan to have the next episode come out very soon for you, where I'll have more amazing content for the show. Until the next episode, have fun, be safe, and make good choices. Bye.